Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Let's give a couple of minutes just for anybody that is maybe joining late, can also catch the beginning of this webinar. How are you doing today, guys? Frederick, Magnus?
Very good, thank you.
Just fine, thanks. How are you, Urshka?
Yeah, also good. I'm excited to share this new innovative product that we have that is increasing online sales through AI technology. So I think it's going to be a super interesting session, especially for anybody that is already using our Whisbi sales solution. And for the rest who are not yet, maybe they're going to consider purchasing it. Okay, I think I'm going to start. Maybe we can start with the introductions first. Today we have two speakers joining me today. Thank you so much, guys. First is Magnus Astrom. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your surname correctly. Magnus is a startup entrepreneur with a passion to leverage technology and to challenge and disrupt industries that help companies improve their services. He has a strong background in analytics and has always been passionate about helping brands and retailers increase their conversion rates without having to increase investment. So he's now currently CEO and co-founder at Now Interact, and has recently partnered with Wispy to help boost conversion rates for our clients as well. Thank you for joining, Magnus.
Thank you.
And we also have Frederick Johnson. For those of you who are joining for the first time, he's our Chief Strategy Officer and is right now focused on our long-term vision for our business. He's born in Sweden, raised and educated in Canada and the United States. He has 2 degrees from MIT, aerospace engineering and master's in management. More than 25 years of experience in professional services, most recently focused on developing digital business strategies based on meaningful customer experiences. So the perfect 2 speakers, I think, for today's topic. Thank you so much for joining again.
It's a pleasure, Urshka. Thank you.
Let's jump into the topic of today and give maybe some background to our viewers today. So first, we want to, of course, emphasize that Black Friday is the biggest shopping event of the year, and every year it keeps on growing. Here we have some graphics from a recent Adobe research regarding this biggest shopping event of the year. Frederick, would you like to maybe add 2 cents on this?
Well, I think, Black Friday is something that's on everybody's mind. It's now just around the corner, actually, as we are getting ready for this. And the energy that so many people in the digital retail space spend on this is obviously justified, as it is the single most important shopping event of the year, and it keeps on growing. And I think it's changed in nature a bit because of the pandemic. It's become much more digitally focused, but it's still equally powerful. And very important to focus on and to be ready for well in advance.
Yes, and I mean, a lot of research also suggests that, yes, it's true, the pandemic, lockdown, everything has influenced and really boomed online sales, but they're also suggesting that this kind of new learned behaviors are not going to go away just because stores are reopening. So it's something to keep in mind, I think, for this year's Black Friday, which is expected to be even bigger than last year. Here we have some as well numbers that speak volumes about this day.
Just to share a little bit of numbers. I don't think we need to convince anybody that it's a big deal. But if you look just at the U.S. market, U.S. consumers spent $9 billion online during Black Friday last year, up 20% from the year before. Which is a huge difference. And if you look at it's actually quite concentrated in terms of time. 1/3 of that was spent during what they call the golden hours of retail, which is the sort of late afternoon, early evening time, which creates a unique phenomenon for sellers, for online sellers, that it's so concentrated and so intense, and you really want to capture as much as possible. It stretches your resources to the limit, and you want to take as much advantage of that as possible to not leave money on the table, as the saying goes. Another important piece of data is that the e-commerce average order value is in the hundreds of dollars. So each of these orders is worth dedicating time to and spending some energy on, because these are not peanuts. But one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how do you optimize that, and how do you make sure that you are dedicating energy and investment to the right ones. And that's one of the things that artificial intelligence allows us to do.
Yeah, definitely. So why don't we look at some of the difficulties that AI technology can help when it comes to ramping up your Black Friday sales?
Okay, so to lay out the space of problems that we can address. As I spoke a moment ago, the volume is huge. So we have to manage capacity. We have to really focus on the highest quality leads and not spend call center capacity or the ability to assist people on. You want to focus that on the ones that bring the most money or that are most valuable. But at the same time, you want to capture as much volume as possible. So of all of the real opportunities that are on the table, you want to capture as many of those as possible. Another problem from the consumer perspective is that in many cases, it's particularly in reasoned purchases, so purchases of a higher ticket value, there's a barrier in that people want to buy things online, but they might still need some help. So one of the things that, or one of the key things that the Whisbi platform focuses on is assisted sales. So helping people who need that little bit of convincing, or they need some information, or they need some trust built up with them in order to finally make the sale. Yet at the same time, you don't want to cannibalize by either interfering with or assisting people who would buy on their own anyway. So you have to find this balance, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. Another thing is once you have made a contact between a potential sale and an agent, either in the call center or in the retail context, wherever you are, you want to give them as much information as possible so that they can be effective and fast, so they can close the sale with a high rate of conversion, get whatever upsale is possible, and do so in a short time. So we want to provide them with the information and the tools to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And now, Magnus, maybe you could tell us how AI technology actually solves those difficulties.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to say that AI is a typical use case for AI. It's a perfect use case for AI. I mean, AI is used in many different ways, and we have learned how to. I mean, AI is involved in many situations, but I would say that this is one of the best and more concrete use cases that you see out there. So it's basically quite straightforward. What we do is that we add a JavaScript tag on the site together with in Wispy, and we track with that JavaScript tag. We track the behavior of every visitor. So we basically see how they arrived to the website, which UTM tag drove them to the website. We can see all the information about the user, not the personal information, but anonymous information about the user, device. We know the time of the day, etc. All the different pieces of information we have on the user. And then once they start navigating on the website, we track what they are doing on the website. And then we look at all this data, and the machine learning algorithm is trained to be able to use this data to predict the likelihood or the probability that this visitor will end this session by placing an order on the website, converting, basically. So with every click for every visitor, we are predicting the likelihood that the visitor will complete the purchase later in the session. So, and we basically put a score between 1 and 1,000. which is describing the likelihood. And with that, you can find the threshold, the sweet spot of the visitors that is not, they are not likely to convert unless they get assisted by someone. So there's some kind of they are hesitant or they need some kind of help, otherwise they won't convert. And that's the sweet spot that you should offer help assistance to. And that can be done then in real time with the Wispy experience, so that we can pick only the right visitors to assist. So you can say that this is similar to if you have a physical store and you have one sales guy there, and there's hundreds of people in the store. You need to use that one sales guy very clever to get maximum output from that sales guy. And so this is a little bit similar what you will see during Black Friday. So much traffic, so much visitors, and you need to harvest maximum sales during that important time of this event. So that's a perfect use case for AI.
Yes, that sounds really interesting, actually. Thank you for that. And then can you tell us more about what kind of results can be achieved with this AI technology?
This is something we work with all the time. So if you use AI in a more normal circumstance, you will see increase of your conversion, basically your online conversion rate. If you include the assisted sales into the online conversion rates, we can reduce the drop-offs from the sites, so we can predict when someone is about to leave the website and offer them some kind of intervene and offer them assistance before they leave. And you will see an improved conversion rate in the contact center, so the efficiency of your agents will improve. But that improvement is just going to be so much bigger during an event like Black Friday. So it's going to be on another scale, but it's the same kind of improvements.
Right. So basically, kind of led us to introduce Whisbi Boost and its AI engine. Frederick, would you like to?
So basically, what we're talking about here is we're combining the intelligence, pardon the pun, of the machine learning algorithm with the assistance of the Wispy platform, or the let's say the appropriate the video first assisted funnel experience of the Wispy platform. But rather than being only defined by business rules of it appears in such and such a situation or with this kind of frequency and so on and so forth, we're building in this predictability or the power of the machine learning algorithm to serve this experience only to the right people at exactly the right moment. And what that does is it creates those improvements that Magnus was just describing of sales uplift, improved conversion, and increased efficiency. So basically, it allows us to be more precise in the way that we implement the Wispy experience.
Yes, and we work, as you know, with many global brands in different kinds of industries. I just wanted to here emphasize our use case with A1 Group. They have implemented Whisbi Sell in, I think, 6 or 7 markets already in Europe, and they have really started to provide, outstanding online customer experience and are increasing online conversion rates in every single market. I would really suggest everybody attending this webinar today to either go on our website, download it, and kind of have a read through and see what they have been doing and achieving and improving their experience and conversion rates. But we will also share this presentation after. So there is a link in the presentation that you can click and download this resource very easily. But the reason why we're mentioning them is because they're also interested in Whisbi Boost and how it can help them increase sales even more, because they already see the value of Whisbi Sell.
And we're already working with, they already have it implemented in a number of markets. So this is, they're making the next step beyond the Whisbi experience to the Whisbi Boost experience, to take a step even farther in improving their sales and improving the sales through this, what we really could consider a separate sales channel.
Yes, and just quickly, I'm not going to take too much of your time here, but how you can get started if you're interested. If you're an existing Whisbi customer, as A1 is, you can just reach out to your customer success manager and we can set that up for you. if you are new to Whisbi, we're also happy to have a quick conversation with you and explain how Whisbi AI technology can work with any of our products. It doesn't have to be only Whisbi Cell. But basically what we would do is just implement the Whisbi Boost on your website to start recording data over a period of time. Then we would train the algorithm with the data that we have collected and activate the segmentation tools. And then after, we would conduct targeting, review, and define AI-based targeting strategy moving forward for you to achieve the results that have been set at the beginning of the project. And Magnus, would you like to, or Frederick, please.
I was just going to say there's an important point here that this takes a bit of time. Right? It's very non-disruptive. So we put the code on the site and we just, let's say, watch for a while, and in so doing, teach the algorithm. But in order to have the proper power, it takes a number of weeks to get that developed. So in order to get this ready for Black Friday, we have to start talking about this very soon. Yeah,
it's not like I'm going to start 2 days before. Right. And not to mention that anybody that is working in retail or e-commerce environment, the website cannot be touched, I think, a month or two before Black Friday. And a lot of times they even turn off different contact channels just because of what Magnus mentioned. That is a huge amount of volume and the system collapses and the experience is not great as it should be. So yeah, I think this solution is like the perfect answer to this kind of problems that retailers are having. But let's be a bit more practical. How does this work in practice? There's 3 easy steps.
Yeah, so after this period of let's call it watching, of this period of observing behavior and then understanding what are the drivers of behavior and allowing the algorithm to learn, it allows us to divide up all of the visitors to the site into different categories. So if we're, and this is the sort of the dashboard output that we would use that shows the following, this is a real example from a dashboard, but we've covered up the numbers for confidentiality reasons of the client that we're looking at. So if we take, going from left to right, we take all of the online visitors to the website. We can say what portion of those are being targeted currently by the Wispy experience. And among those exposed leads, there are 3 different types. The first types are the ones that you really want to be talking to. So what we call accurate targeting, which has a high likelihood to convert and a high value clients. Then we have what we call lower quality targeting, which has a lower likelihood to convert, which makes it less efficient to spend resources and energy on targeting these leads. And finally, you have the opposite, which are leads that are cannibalization risk, that are highly likely to convert on their own. So you don't want to touch them or interfere with them and let them convert on their own in an unassisted way. They don't need help. And then the final category are leads or visitors that have not been exposed to the Wispy experience or to an assisted sales experience, but have similar characteristics to the ones that are accurately targeted. So these are leads that are likely to have a high click-through rate. They will generate significant leads and therefore also significant orders, which represents a potential uplift because they are not yet being targeted. Right. And then we can take the same thing and split it up and look at it in terms of funnel. So moving down the funnel, we have the top of the funnel, we have a number of visitors that are being targeted or potentially should be targeted. And then as those break down and we take the visits and we turn them into segments, we divide them up into segments. We will have some proportion that are the green ones, the good ones, let's say, and the blue ones, which are the lower quality ones. And as you go down through the funnel from visits to leads to orders, the proportions change, obviously. And what we then do is, this is a view of the funnel before we take any actions. And then what we start doing is we say, okay, let's tweak this. Let's change the characteristics of who gets to see the Wispy experience, or who do we target, or who do we approach for assistance. And what that does is it allows us to change the number of exposed visits, which increases the number of leads and increases the number of orders. And so what we're doing is we're goosing up or giving a significant uplift to the pipeline of orders that comes through. Now, there are two ways to approach this. One is you either turn up the volume as much as you can. So you try to create the maximum potential and make sure that nobody who is a high potential lead does not get contacted. So what we do is a relatively small number of the low quality leads are not served the experience, but we try to capture as many of the previously untargeted leads as possible to increase the number of contacts, which can be, here in the examples that we're working with now, we can increase the number of contacts in the order of 20, 25, even 30% that are high quality leads that we previously were not touching. And what that does then is gives you a similar uplift in the number of orders. But this requires more agents because you're creating a significantly higher volume of traffic into your sales engine. Which brings me to the next possibility is, what do you do if you have limitations on capacity? So this is quite often the case in a Black Friday context, because you have this huge volume that we spoke about before that's coming through, but you don't have infinite capacity for that 24 or 36 or 48 hour period that you have this huge peak. So then what you do is we say, okay, we can handle so many contacts. The number of leads that we offer the assisted sales experience to, we want that to remain unchanged. But because we changed the targeting, we remove the lower quality leads from the pipeline. We don't serve them the experience, and we serve it instead only to the high quality leads, limiting the number, the proportion, such that we keep the cap on the overall volume going into the call center, and that because we are grabbing the top of the pile, if you rank people according to probability, we're only grabbing the top ones. Our orders will go up with the same amount of volume. And this is a particularly interesting scenario for a Black Friday context, as I described before.
Yep. And a quite similar quite usual situation is that you decide, either you decide to pause your assisted experience on the website due to this peak volume, which means that you're actually leaving sales on the table. So if Whisby normally adds another 30% sales in normal circumstances, it's going to be the same during Black Friday, but those 30% will represent a huge number, a huge absolute number. So with this AI-based targeting, you can keep the Whisby experience on and add another 30% sales, but with the boost and AI functionality, you can also add another 10% on top of that. So during Black Friday, that it's going to represent a huge difference versus if you turn the experience off altogether. So that, I think that is what we see across customers and companies, that this is the main benefit from using AI. It's going to be so much easier to keep it on and target only the right visitors.
And I think if we think back to the analogy that Magnus was using before, of the lone shopkeeper in a shop that's full of hundreds of customers that he doesn't know who to attend to, what this tool does is effectively it puts a red sticker on the forehead of all the high quality people, or high likelihood to purchase people that walk in the door, so you can run over and grab just that one. This guy has a red sticker on his forehead or on his shoulder or whatever. You say, hey, I'm really happy, I'm really eager to buy. So what the artificial intelligence does is puts that sticker on there on this visitor and says, grab this one, assist him or her, and because they are worth the investment.
No, I think it's super powerful, like you guys mentioned already, and we are trying to make aware as many people as we can about this huge improvement in our solution, thanks to the partnership with Now Interact. I think this has been a super interesting, insightful session, I hope for everybody, not just for us. So what do you say if we move into the questions and answers Q&A part of the webinar and see if our audience has any specific questions that we can answer that we haven't covered yet in the presentation?
Sure, bring on the questions.
Yep.
I know we've gone through this very quickly, and we're happy to clarify anything, and or also to have separate conversations with anybody who's particularly interested.
So guys, don't be shy. Send over your questions. We'll be happy to answer. Okay, I have a question here from Kennedy. Thank you for your question. Will Whisbi solution work on my website?
Well, it depends on.
The answer is yes.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
The longer answer is the Whisbi solution, without going into too much detail on the whole thing, is that the Whisbi engage solution, where we do broadcast, one-to-many broadcast, can work on almost any website. The sell solution, which is one-to-one assisted sales, works best in contexts where the ticket size is relatively high, where the complexity of the purchase is relatively high, or there is it's a reasoned purchase where the people to make the particular purchase, there's likely to be a significant number of people that need assistance. That's where it works best.
And there is a question for Magnus, maybe. I have a question here from an anonymous attendee. How long does the implementation take? I know we covered the steps, but we didn't really talk about, the specific timeline.
It's fairly quick. You add the tag on the website, and that can be done in a few different ways, but it's very straightforward. And then we record data for roughly 2 weeks. So we need to collect data and train algorithms. So we normally need a couple of weeks of data. And then the next step is to look at the data together, like Frederick, the type of dashboards that Frederick showed us, and decide which targeting strategy to launch. So, and that will maybe take another week. So maybe roughly 3 weeks is the shortest time we need, given everybody's calendars, etc. But it's always good to have a little bit more data. So you can say between three to 6 weeks is basically enough.
Okay.
I don't know, Frederick, if you want to comment on that.
No, I think 3 to 6 weeks to get started is great. But I think there's an important point in that is the more data you have and the more experience you have, the better it gets. So it's not like you turn it on and then it's done. It just keeps getting better and better with time. I think that's also an important point.
And we also see quite often that once we start looking at the data together with the clients, the clients start to learn a lot more, and maybe they realize and they get insights that will tweak their understanding of what they want to achieve. So it's also a process to learn from this deployment for the client. So that means that it's always good to have a little bit more lead time.
And also one other key point here is that the analysis that we described of putting the visitors into different segments can be done on a page-by-page basis within the website. So we can look at this behavior in an extremely granular way, which allows you to bring those insights and learnings that Magnus was just talking about down to the level of particular areas of the website, like a shop context versus a product description context, or different types of pages within the site can be treated in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, especially if you have different, product categories from, let's say, if you talk about like white goods retailer, maybe people need more help when they're buying a fridge versus an iron or a TV. I don't know, like weird examples, but it's true. Yeah, it's very important that you can manage that on page by page basis as well. I have another question. How fast can I achieve higher conversion rates implementing your solution?
Yeah,
well, I think that's. Go ahead, please.
It's actually quite immediate, but as always, when you're looking at improvements and uplifts, you need to have a certain amount of data to have statistically validated the results. So it's a little bit depending on how big is your website, how much traffic do you have. So it's hard to tell in this exact number of days or so, because it depends on the volume on the website.
Okay. I have another question where I can find more tips for Black Friday from Federico. Thank you for your question. So we have prepared actually a whole web page on our website dedicated purely to Black Friday resources. We have everything from all the webinars, guides, checklists, tips, tricks. A lot of resources are available there, so you can just have a look on our website. But we will also be including the link in our follow-up email after this webinar when we share the recording as well. I have another question from another anonymous viewer. What kind of retailers are we working with? Frederick, would you like to share maybe?
Sure, we're working with a broad, I mean, we do a lot of work in telecommunications with telecom operators and their retail business. We also work with consumer electronics companies, and also specific retailers like, for example, Big Bang in Slovenia, which is a retailer with a broad base of products, or Fnac, or companies like Signature Kitchens in the US. We have a number of clients that work in a retail context like this.
Okay, and then maybe the last question from Maria: if customers need to download an app to use Whisbi?
I think that's a very important question, and I think one of the key differentiators of Wispy from other potential solutions like this is that the customer does not have to download an app. It works, it's completely browser and device agnostic. It works on mobile phones, on tablets, on your desktop or laptop or whatever, and there's no requirements for membership in anything, or downloading anything, or getting permissions of any kind from the consumer. And that makes it takes away some very key barriers. It makes it very, very immediate to just drop into the experience immediately.
Yeah, completely browser device agnostic, so no limitations there. Well, I think we can conclude this session with this last answer to the question. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I hope we shared some interesting insights. And if you are interested in the Whisbi or Whisbi Boost solution, please contact us through our website. We have our consultants connected to our Whisbi sales solution, where you can get in touch in real time and have this initial conversation. You can also contact us through different channels like email or telephone as well on our website. And if you're an existing client, reach out to your customer success manager and they're gonna be able to point you in the right direction. Thank you as well to our speakers today. It was a pleasure having you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge on the topic. And I hope I'll see you all again in our next webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.